Today on the newscast, the Iran-backed Houthis attack a civilian airport in Saudi Arabia as the Iranian regime ramps up its proxy wars throughout the region. Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. You may think that the Iranian regime, which is ready quite possibly to reap a diplomatic and economic windfall thanks to a brand new nuclear deal which is being negotiated right now in Vienna, you may think, given that fact, that Iran would maybe back off a bit, take its foot off the gas when it came to sponsorship of terror across the Middle East and supporting and arming its terror proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and yes, the subject of today's newscast, the Houthis of Yemen. If you think that, you're thinking wrong, because the Iranian regime is actually putting its foot on the gas now more than ever before. Today, Thursday, February 10th, we had yet another Houthi attack on Saudi Arabia, and this time a major escalation to my mind, a drone attack against a Saudi airport, the Aba airport near the Saudi-Yemen border. Civilians intentionally targeted here, folks, by the Houthis. An explosive-packed drone directed towards the Aba airport. Now, thankfully, according to Saudi authorities, the drone was intercepted in midair, but shrapnel from the drone rained down on the airport below, and at least 12 civilians were injured. No one was killed that we know of. We don't know how serious the injuries were. It appears that some of the people who were hurt were guest workers in Saudi Arabia, but intentionally targeting civilians, the Houthi rebels of Yemen. And this comes on the heels, of course, not only of just a constant stream of drone and ballistic missile attacks against sites throughout Saudi Arabia, but the UAE, in particular, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, has been the target of a steady stream over the past month of those Houthi attacks. Again, that hybrid model of explosive-packed drones and ballistic missiles. So, folks, what we have here is a situation where, okay, we already know, and we've detailed it many times here in the newscast, that Iran and its proxies have formed a ring of fire around Israel. Proxies everywhere you look, armed to the teeth along Israel's borders with tens of thousands of rockets and missiles, and of course, those attack drones supplied by their masters in Tehran. But we also have a ring of fire now forming around the Saudi Gulf states, in particular Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The Houthis to the south are a critical piece of Iran's strategic plans for the region, not only against Israel in the future, but especially against the Sunni Arab states like Saudi Arabia, like the UAE, that are lined up on the other side of that Middle Eastern divide right now. I've compared it to the sheep and goat nations, where on one side you have Israel and Egypt, Jordan, of course the UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the Sunni Arab states plus Israel, and on the other side, of course, Iran and those lethal proxies like the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and the Shia militias in Syria and Iraq, and of course the Assad regime in Syria as well. It is a very stark and clear divide, folks. No gray areas in the Middle East right now. And again, once again, Saudi Arabia in the crosshairs of the Iranian regime and its proxies, just one day after Saudi King Salman held a phone call with Joe Biden, in which Biden pledged greater regional security cooperation with the Saudis, in particular against Iran and its proxies. But folks, here's the problem. One of his first acts upon entering office last January, Joe Biden, was dropping the terror designation against the Houthis. Now, the Trump administration had designated, rightly so, the Houthis as a terrorist organization. Joe Biden pulled that designation inexplicably, and now the Houthis have been empowered and emboldened even more, as the past year has shown us. Now, I said inexplicably, perhaps not so inexplicable, because Joe Biden had a strategy all along to revive the Iran nuclear deal. And part of that was taking a softer stance against Iran's allies and proxies like the Houthis. Hey, Iran, we will throw you a bone. We'll take your good friends, the Houthis, off the terror list, and maybe you'll be nice to us. That seems to be the philosophy right now in Washington, D.C. But Iran, like we said at the top, they're taking that and they're putting their foot on the gas even more. When you give a bully, a rogue regime an inch, they will take a mile. They smell weakness on the part of the West. Look no further than last Friday. We laid it out here on the newscast. You can check it out here in our archives. Hey, the Biden administration not only dropped sanctions against the so-called civilian nuclear program of Iran, but released bank accounts, overseas bank accounts that were frozen belonging to the Iranian regime, released $29 billion in frozen bank accounts into the hands of the mullahs in Tehran. So it's no wonder that Iran is saying right now, wow, there's weakness in Washington. Let's push the agenda. I've been saying here on the newscast that 2022, I believe, will be a year of acceleration, in particular in a prophetic sense. And Iran and rogue regimes, China, Russia, they're accelerating their plans. We're continuing to keep a very close eye on this. And hey, the Saudis and the Houthis, they're going at it in Yemen as we speak. So we'll continue to bring you updates there. Again, this is a very dangerous terror organization, the Iran-backed Houthi rebels, increasingly so, who are bold, number one, and number two, have the backing of Iran, and they're being armed by Iran with increasingly sophisticated weaponry. So hey, keep the situation in your prayers, folks. The Middle East never sleeps, and we will continue to bring you updates here on the Watchman Newscast every day, so keep it right here. Until tomorrow, God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.